These are this afternoon's top stories. Cost reduced for quarantine at OTI. 25 killed in Brazil's deadliest police raid. And 6th grade girl shoots 3 at Idaho Middle School. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday newscast. Today is Friday, 7th May 2021. I'm Kyla Berridge. We begin with news on the local scene. Travelers to St. Kitts and Nevis who submit a negative RT-PCR COVID-19 test and are fully vaccinated can now enjoy reduced quarantine costs if staying at the Ocean Terrace Inn. That is according to Chairman of the National COVID-19 Task Force, Abdis Samuel. He was speaking at the National Emergency Operations Center COVID-19 briefing on Wednesday.
Inn will now pay $320 for the duration of the 9-day stay. Again, I advise persons going to the Ocean Terrace Inn, that's the OTI in quarantine facility, they will now pay $320 for the 9 days of quarantine.
On April 27th, Prime Minister Harris announced that effective May 1st, 2021, fully vaccinated inbound air travelers are required to quarantine for 9 days, down from 14 days. The decision was made based on advice from health experts. Samuel said that the overall cost will be appropriately adjusted as a result of the reduced time frame. The reduced fee is in keeping with the average cost per day of quarantine charged at the TDC-owned hotel. It equates to US $35 per day. The option is the most affordable quarantine package in St. Kitts, as the cost of electricity, water and security are subsidized by the government. The St. Kitts Nevis Marine Drone Challenge, hosted by the St. Kitts Nevis Robotics Association, has been deemed a success following a weekend of competition between 4 schools on island. Chairman and founder of the SKNRA, Dr. Ricardo Neal, said the Marine Drone Challenge went well and the feedback from the schools has been positive.
Actually excited. We are doing this for the very first time, and we were able to include 4 schools: Bastia High School, Washington Archibald, CFBC, and SEMS. And so these schools compete against each other, and it came off really, really well. The feedback that we're getting from the school is that they're looking for it to be an annual event and also to include other schools. So we're looking forward for that for 2022.
Okay, so tell us about the challenge itself. Who won and what is next?
Yes, so Washington Archibald High School came out on top, so I'm sure.
The Washington Archibald High School was the winner of the challenge, amassing a total of 55 points. In second place was Bastia High with 15 points, and the Charles E. Mills Secondary and the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College tying in third place with 5 points. Dr. Neal said the Washington Archibald High School participants will now move on to an international marine drone competition.
Challenge it wasn't just for them to be exposed to just drone development. It's for them to feed into the international challenge. So there is a challenge overseas called Sea Perch. Sea Perch is governed by MIT and Stanford and some of those top universities. And so we want the winners here to feed into that international program. So as of next month, we'll be having the winning team participating in the international team, in the international event. Now, it might not be an event where they have to travel, it might be a virtual event, but nevertheless, St. Kitts will be represented as one of the team across the world.
He said the board of directors of the SKNRA has decided that the Marine Drone Challenge will be an annual event.
Close to the event, but they were able to pull it off. So that is something that works really, really well for them. The nature of the challenge is to test their cognitive level, to see how well they can use their thinking skills to solve many problems. And so they were able to prove that. And that is why we have made a decision from the board level to ensure that we have this as an annual event.
The SKNRA Marine Drone Challenge took place from April 30th to May 2nd. It was guided by the theme, Diving Deep into Marine Life, Ensuring Our Country's Development. The St. Kitts Diabetes Association continued its awareness drive this week with another school screening exercise on Thursday at the Charles E. Mills Secondary School. According to a statement, this is a continuation of a project started in March 2021 with visits to 5 schools and the testing of 150 students. Data being collected included weight, height, blood pressure, and blood sugar. The statement from the St. Kitts Diabetes Association says, quote, "It is hoped that this project will enable us to identify at-risk children as well as those who may already be diabetic. We are hoping to be able to give the necessary advice and recommendations to those identified as having significant chances of becoming afflicted with this malady." The Lions Club and the Ministry of Health were credited as collaborative partners in this venture. And we're moving now to news on the regional scene. A large police operation targeting drug traffickers in the Brazilian city of Rio de Janeiro has ended with the deaths of at least 25 people, including 1 officer. Police said those killed included leaders of the city's biggest criminal gang. But human rights activists have questioned the raid and are calling for a thorough investigation. Al Jazeera's Teresa Bo reports.
The deadliest operation in Rio de Janeiro in years. The police entered the favela of Jacarezinho, allegedly to fight the recruitment of children and teenagers by a criminal organization. Suspects tried to escape across rooftops as police entered the slum in armored vehicles and helicopters flew over the area. The intense firefight left at least 25 people dead, among them a police officer. Rio has suffered for years from drug-related violence, and attempts by different administrations have failed to control it. Police say Jacarezinho was one of the bases of Comando Vermelho, the most powerful drug trafficking group in the country. They say among the dead were leaders of the gang that dominated life in the slum. At least 10 suspects were arrested. But human rights groups say the operation was mounted to avenge the deaths of 4 police officers a few days earlier. The Supreme Court has banned security operations in Rio slums because of the abuses and killings denounced by residents in the city's poorest areas. The Institute of Public Security says almost 500 people have been killed so far this year at the hands of the police. Some of the residents are angry. They say the police committed a massacre and are demanding an investigation. Joel Luis Acosta is a human rights lawyer in Rio.
They entered with the same dynamic to 5 or 6 houses, houses destroyed, shootings, executions. That was an execution. 1 man died sitting on a chair. From a chair nobody shoots. It was cruel, barbaric. This has no solution.
Jacarezinho is one of the poorest communities in Rio. Most residents here are caught in the middle of a conflict between criminal organizations and the police. Teresa Bo, Al Jazeera.
In St. Lucia, the National Security Minister says while he supports the move toward marijuana law reform, he cannot be asked to break the law. The authorities recently turned down a request from the Ayanola Council for the Advancement of Rastafari to export cannabis from St. Lucia to volcano-stricken St. Vincent and the Grenadines on humanitarian grounds. More in this report.
Security Minister Herman Gill Francis has shot down a request from the Ayanola Council for the Advancement for Rastafari to export marijuana to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The president of ICA, Aaron Alexander, recently announced the body had written to the authorities requesting permission to take 50 pounds of cannabis along with them on a recent humanitarian trip via a vessel to aid the volcano-ravaged island. He said it was for religious purposes.
We use herb as our sacrament, and we know that presently our brothers in St. Vincent, our brothers and sisters in St. Vincent do not have access to the sacrament. So we penned a letter to our Minister of Internal Security, the Honorable Herman Gill Francis, seeking a bit of an exemption to allow us to travel with some of our sacrament to deliver to our brothers and sisters in St. Vincent. We know that cannabis is legal or decriminalized to a great extent in St. Vincent. So we know the Vincentian authorities will not have an issue with that. However, St. Lucia is the problem. So we wrote to our Minister of Internal Security, Herman Gill Francis. We carbon copied a letter to the Honorable Prime Minister, Alan
also to the Comptroller of Customs and also the Commissioner of Police. Speaking to the media on the steps of Parliament on Thursday ahead of the sitting of the Senate, the National Security Minister would not even countenance the thought of such a request given the current prohibition of cannabis.
I was happy that he was sending goods and services to his people in St. Vincent. I had a problem with that. But you can't ask me to break the law. That's ridiculous, and I'm going to justify that by responding. I'm not going to respond to that. As a matter of fact, the first thing that they should have taken is just put this on the side. You cannot ask a Minister of Justice to break the law. It's simple, and I explained everything. I said I've been in the forefront of this marijuana thing from day one. I've spoken twice on the subject at ICA's platforms, in Vivot and in Soufrière. What else can I do? There is a process. The legislation is now with the AG's office. It's been drafted, and until then, we don't take any decision.
Pro-ganja groups have expressed frustration at what they see as the slow pace of cannabis law reform, including decriminalization.
If you go to cabinet, you'll see there's a cabinet conclusion, and it has been sent to the AG's office. We have this the COVID thing going on there. Every other day, the AG has to be writing all sorts of statutory instruments. Okay, which is more important at this time?
So are you saying that the marijuana legislation, this legalization legislation has kind of taken a backseat?
No, it has not taken a backseat. I'm telling you, there are more pressing issues now with the lives of our people. And that's what we're doing.
Back in February 2021, Commerce Minister Bradley Felix claimed that the Rastafarian community should be among the first groups to profit from the proposed marijuana industry. A legal framework for establishing a marijuana industry in St. Lucia is currently in the works. Pro-ganja groups want cannabis consumption treated as a public health issue and not a criminal justice matter. Joachim Duplessis, HDS News Force.
And on the international scene, a 6th grade girl is in custody, charged with opening fire at her school in a shooting that injured 3 people before a teacher disarmed her. The shock in the small Idaho town where it happened is intensified by her young age. More in this report.
Rang out in this Idaho middle school early Thursday morning. Police say a 6th grade girl who had a handgun in her backpack pulled the trigger. The rounds hitting 2 students and a school custodian.
Each of these individuals sustained non-life-threatening extremity injuries.
Police say the girl was disarmed by a teacher, Krista Needing. Needing's father telling NBC News she sat the girl down and gave her a tight hug. The girl repeatedly asked Krista to take the gun and kill her, but Krista continued to hug her tight until the police came.
This is the worst nightmare a school district could ever face. We prepare for it, but we're never truly ready for it.
Footage from the scene shows a man being wheeled out on a stretcher as anxious parents gathered nearby.
When I dropped her off to school this morning, I never imagined that this would happen.
Traumatized students and parents struggling to cope with the shock. A mother recalling the moment her terrified 13-year-old called her.
My 8th grader had called me and said that there was an active shooter in the school, that she had heard 3 gunshots right next to her classroom, and that she had heard a friend of hers may have been shot. And then she said, "I love you, I gotta go, bye."
While the investigation is ongoing, prosecutors say they aren't ruling out the most serious charges.
Once the investigation is completed, we will be filing appropriate charges, possibly including 3 counts of attempted murder.
This morning, this normally quiet community's sense of calm shattered.
As for a possible motive, officials say it's still early in the investigation, but they are looking into reports that the suspect posted a threatening video on TikTok days before the shooting. Some of the other key questions: where she got the gun in the first place and whether anyone was specifically targeted. Police also say the shooting incident was captured by the school's security cameras, but the footage will not be released while the investigation is underway.
And now for the weather. Present weather is cloudy. Winds are gentle from the east at 12 miles per hour. Seas are at 3 to 5 feet. The weather forecast for today predicts partly cloudy skies with a low chance of showers. Tonight is expected to be partly cloudy with a slight chance of showers. Sunset today will be at 6:33 p.m. and sunrise tomorrow will be at 5:42 a.m. And that brings us to the end of our midday newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for joining us. I'm Carla Barrage. Goodbye.